back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Alex, and today you are going with me on a journey to the beautiful land of Arkansas. Now, if there's anything that I've learned, it's that all road trips seem to have at least one mishap, and fortunately for us, ours happened at the beginning of our trip the night before when we realized that the vehicle we were going to take had no AC. And given the fact that Arkansas was over 100 degrees and humid, that wasn't going to happen. Keaton and I were not willing to postpone our trip because we had been planning it for such a long time, so we ended up getting our first ever rental car, and it was a really nice and spacious Mazda 6. I don't know if you've ever driven one of those before. I had never been in one, but it ended up being the perfect road trip car, so we were pretty happy with that. And with a later start than we initially anticipated, we were off on an 11.5-hour journey to go see Keaton's family. This trip is part travel and part reading vlog, as I spontaneously took a copy of The Mountain and the Sea with me, and it's about a species of octopus that has evolved its own language and culture and hates humans so much that they decide to murder us. So naturally, there are people who want to study them and people who want to exploit them. And I don't know about you, but I find reading on road trips can be kind of difficult because of distractions like pit stops, random giant road crosses, and the promise of Dairy Queen. We've been on the road for some time now, but we still have probably another like 6.5 hours to go. So we're stopped off at a gas station, and I'm getting ready to go through the Dairy Queen to get a mocha latte because I need something to wake me up. I actually fell asleep for like 45 minutes in the car because I only got about 3.5 hours of sleep last night. This is Keaton and I's first long road trip together. The car is really nice, and we've been getting really good gas mileage too, and I've gotten some reading in as well. I think because I'm fatigued, I'm having a hard time concentrating because I'm really liking the story, I'm liking the characters, but the way that I could tell that I wasn't really able to focus is when the names were introduced, because the names were difficult to pronounce, and I had to actually like read them out loud and sound them out and ask Keaton how he thought that they were pronounced. I'm like, my brain cannot focus right now. We're gonna keep on trekking. It's been a safe and easy trip so far. I'm hoping for that to continue. The scenery is gonna start getting really beautiful here soon, and I'll see you in a little bit. So then I got my DQ and felt more energized in just enough time to deal with rain on the way to St. Louis. It did stop long enough for me to get this shot of the arch though, so thanks nature, you're a real bro. And it was at this point that the land stopped being quite so flat and instead turned into these lush hills. And I was definitely doing my best to read while all of these sights were going by, but I have a difficult time not paying attention to things that I don't get to see. After we got past Branson, Keaton told me excitedly about this place called Redmond's Candy Factory, so of course we had to stop there too. You promised me a dark chocolate turtle and I'll go with you just about anywhere. And just look at this place. It had 2 sides full of every sweet treat that you could want, with a case of house-made chocolates and fudge in the middle. And you best be believing I got me a dark chocolate turtle. I could not pass that up. And it was delicious. They also make so many varieties of flavored popcorn. So you can see that we have selections like peanut butter cup, cheddar cheese, cinnamon, banana cream, house mix, and Keaton's favorite, which is the jalapeno cheddar. I thought that the barbecue cheddar sounded good, but decided on salt and vinegar because that's my jam. Then in classic candy shop fashion, they have the flavored sodas with the weird names like Martian Poop and Radioactive Soda and Gross Gus's Pirate Piss. I ended up getting a Martian Poop because I rarely try flavored sodas and I was feeling a little whimsical. And I ended up actually liking it. It tasted like one of those cheap grocery store popsicles. And to go with the theme of my book, I bought some trolley Sour Bright Octopuses. And then it was back on the road. But that was okay because it was also where the journey became the most beautiful. We ended up finally getting on a 2-lane highway where I naively thought that we were getting close to our destination, but we were going to be driving through this land for another few hours. A realization I hardly minded, and if you like the mountains, you probably wouldn't have either. After about another hour of driving on those backcountry roads, I was starting to get a little antsy, 1 from sitting so long, but 2 from filming from within the car. So I looked at Keaton and I went, "You're not gonna like this." And I just got up in the sunroof and started filming. Not for very long because it made him nervous, but long enough for you to see unobstructed by a smudged windshield. And then finally, after many hours, we made it. We kicked off the morning of day 2 early with coffee from Piney Bay Coffee Company, which was formerly also a radio station, and the inside of it with all of these murals was really cool. The neighboring building had an octopus painted on it, so it was very on theme for this trip. We met up with Keaton's parents and they decided to take me on a grand tour of all of the neighboring counties, which gave me some pretty views like the water from this bridge. My favorite part of this day by far was stopping at the old railroad tracks where parked our decommissioned rail cars, and Stobies, which is a restaurant made from a rail car. They have a sign out that you can blow a rail train whistle, so I did with a huge smile on my face.
That makes me so happy, thank you.
Now what you're seeing here is just the part of the restaurant that was made from the rail car. It's a lot bigger than this, but just look at it. There's even the original ticket-taking booth, complete with creepy mannequin. I exposited so much about my adoration for trains that we went to the old Russellville station, now converted into a tiny museum, and saw some neat history, like these old weight and inspection tags you can see in the content section what the cars were carrying. We even came at just the right time for me to see a train as it went flying by, but it was so long that I didn't even try to film the whole thing because my arm probably would have fallen off. And then it was back on the road to see his parents' cabin. This particular car ride takes us to Crystal Bridges, which is a renowned art museum home to one of the Frank Lloyd Wright houses. We got to do a tour, but we're not allowed to take photos of the inside. And of course, it being a gallery, there was a lot of art. And also this. And in case you want to know what this spinning 16K animation is, it's the only NFT that has a physical element. The artist's name is Beeple. And I don't have much more to say than that. Then, as a chance to decompress a bit after much adventuring, I decided to take time to read. As you can see, I'm not that far into the book at this point, but I have discovered the brutal ways in which the octopuses have been killing people. When I can actually concentrate, the story moves pretty fast, and the chapters are cut up into bite-sized chunks and jump between perspectives. It's engaging. And that evening, I got to meet the rest of Keaton's family, and they were all wonderful. But sadly, it was a short trip, and we had to leave at the butt crack of dawn the next day for our 13.5-hour journey back. We had to make more stops on the way back, but I hope that you can take some time to appreciate the way that we got to see the sunrise. It was breathtaking. So we're back home now, safe and sound, and I've also finished The Mountain and the Sea and have some thoughts. This first and foremost is a 452-page philosophical thought experiment about the nature of consciousness. How do we identify consciousness in something like an AI or another animal when we don't even really have the ability to identify what consciousness is in ourselves? It's also about how destructive indifference can be, how we can take from the environment, from the lives of animals, from the lives of other people, and we don't care about it as long as we don't have to see it and it doesn't affect us. So we start off with our characters of Ha Wen, who is a biologist, Evrim, who is an AI and the very first android ever to attain true consciousness, and then Atlantseg, who is our chief of security, and they're the ones who are in charge of actually studying the octopuses. And then you have Rushdom, who is the world's greatest hacker, and he has been hired by this corporation to hack into the most complicated system that he's ever seen, and as you go along in the story, you get to learn what that system is. And then you have Aiko, who was abducted and sold into slavery on this fishing vessel that is actually run by an AI. My one criticism of this book is because it's a thought experiment, there are times when the characters monologue at great length. We're talking like a page and a half of just one character talking. It can make this book at times seem pretentious, but I really got what Ray Nayler was getting at, and I largely agreed with his commentary, so it really didn't bother me, but I could see that perhaps it might irritate other people. This is a perspective expanding story. It made me think about how difficult and complex communication really is. It's also part thriller with scheming corporations and nation states, which is really fun, but there's also a lot lot of murder. It's set in the not too distant future. There are no dates in here, but it's implied with the degree of technological advancement. You will have to suspend your belief in order to truly appreciate this thought experiment, but if you can do that, I think you'd probably really enjoy it. A significant amount of research went into the creation of this story, and Nayler actually put all of his sources in his acknowledgments. And you get to see just how many other books he had to read to create this one, which I think is extremely cool. He really wanted to make the difficulties of communicating with another species as realistic and believable as possible. And given that I can already tell that I'm going to want to read this again in the future, it gets 5 stars from me. And if you made it to the end of the video and went on this journey with me, thank you so much for hanging out. I would love to hear from you down in the comments. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, that you all stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.